decided during the feast that we're going to have it. So I'm glad we did, but
here we are in Beit Vegan in our sukkah. Shomron worked really hard. Just really missing Tzipi, which his God will join us in the future. So here's our sukkah. Here's Degel Yisrael. Here's Yerushalayim. That's where we were. Very good. Okay, so Liz, you will not believe the story.
Yerushalayim needing more place to develop communities and neighborhoods for themselves. And on the other hand, the sport and the sport experts in Yerushalayim wanted a new stadium instead of the old one behind the YMCA building on Rehov Melech David. And so they looked for a place to build it, and this was going to be where they were going to build it, right to your left. Except that the Haredi community said we can't have a sports stadium right over here. It's not nice. We can't have one in Yerushalayim B'chlal. Definitely not over here, right opposite some of the communities of ours. It can't work. And so negotiations, and this was the deal. In the city council, when it came to voting for the support for the new stadium, Teddy Kollak Stadium, the Haredi voters walked out of the council, didn't vote. On the other hand, they agreed, and when the vote came to give this piece of land to the builders to build very, very cheap apartments in those days, comparatively speaking, they didn't vote against it. In other words, the main cost of an apartment is not necessarily the building part of it, in the rocks and stones and all of the equipment inside, the building materials, but in the land, which is controlled mostly by Israel. And here the Israeli government decided to give the land almost nil to builders, and therefore they can charge much less. So both communities gained and lost. They didn't get what they wanted, they got what they wanted, as I just explained, and that became Ramat Shlomo. And we're coming up to the northeast exit of Yerushalayim, or not really an exit today. Ramat, on the right side of you, Ramat Eshkol, named after Levi Eshkol, the Prime Minister of Israel in the Six-Day War. And above that, what most people call Givat Sarfatit, French hill, French quarter, not the real name. The real name is Givat Shapiro, named after the Minister of Religious Affairs, Rabbi Shapiro, who was then the minister right after the Six-Day War. The name Givat Sarfatit is questionable where it came from. What most people realize now is that when we came back, we were looking for maps, and we found an old map, and on it had the word Sarfati, French. And so the designers assumed that was the name of the hill, French Hill, and therefore they kept the name. Except that later on, after the name became very popular, it turned out to be that was the surveyor's name. And so the surveyor became French Hill. Another reason that there used to be a small convent inside of a French order. So the two names got together. The real name, the official name, is Ramat Shapiro. That is now going through a change in its populace also, Ramat Shapiro, Givat Sarfatit. It used to be mostly the population of non-Kippot, and then changed a bit to the Kippot. And then in the last few years there were some Arabs who were running away from being outside of Yerushalayim because of the wall, Asawiya, for example, and they started purchasing there. Also, the Arabs living on the left side of you'll see in a few moments, started buying apartments there, and that was becoming a very big problem for the families, the Jewish families living in that community. They didn't like it very much, and what's happened is, again, a Haredi population is beginning to move into Givat Sarfatit. The Haredi world is having many, many kids, Baruch Hashem, and need a place to live. And so Givat Sarfatit is now the next place that they are moving into in a big way. The buildings on the left side of you are all part of Yerushalayim, an Arab neighborhood, and used to be Christian, today much less Christian than Muslim. That is what is going on now within Israel on proper, and also in the area of Yehuda and Shomron. Mostly Christian Arabs are being forced out and beaten up, and part of what's going on in the Islamic world, in which everybody keeps quiet about. And so what used to be much Christian, for example, Beit Lechem today, Bethlehem is 75% Islamic today, 75%. 10 years ago was almost the opposite. Nazareth, which Sally said before that we're helping out over there, the same process, and therefore the yeshiva there is extremely important to help out because it's bringing more Jewish families back into the area. This is all part of what would be officially, or let's say, commonly called East Yerushalayim. On the left side of you, French Hill, Givat Sarfatit is in front of you, and Ramat Eshkol, as we just said a few minutes ago, on the right side. This is the main intersection, and that we'll be going through, and then we'll be leaving Yerushalayim in about 10 minutes. And you'll see the light train tracks on either side of you right now. And in the third part, they move up straight ahead of you towards the main depot, where all of they're serviced and taken care of and parked when there needed to be parked over there. There was a big fight about this. In other words, the original part of the fast train was supposed to stop over here, and we'll see the depot. That was supposed to be the end of it. 3 communities fought to have it further out in their area. One, Pisgat Ze'ev, that will be going through, then Neve Yaakov, and third, the Arab community over here on the left side of you. 4 Beit Hanina is in this area. They were very upset, saying, why should we not be serviced by the light train station? And then they would get to questions of whether it's security or not. The end result, as you can see, the train goes through a good part of the Arab communities on the left side, and end up going through Piskat Ze'ev and up to the entrance to the Veyakov. But they also wanted to be sure, there's the train right now on the left side. This is going towards the depot. We'll see it in a few moments. Repeat that? It's a nice car. One of the reasons was when they first started building red roofs, we got a great deal from a company who had red roofs to sell. They didn't have buyers, so they just got a great deal. That was the original reason. And then it became a nice thing to do, but it has no relevance in terms of heat or to look like Europe, nothing at all. That's already, people like to say it. There's the depot now on the right side of you. It is also not correct to say that the Arabs, the Jewish houses have red roofs and the Arab houses don't have red roofs. Incorrect. This house on the right side is Arab, has a red roof. The houses on the left side, all of them are Arab and they all have red roofs, or so many red roofs. No relevance. It's how, depending on how you're building a roof. A roof that's used by that kind of building with red, well, not with the red, but the shingles itself, has a different type of roof. It's less weighty, and therefore you can put underneath the roof, you can add more rooms, legally or illegally. You can also put in a heating system. That's the main reason for doing it that way. If you want a flat roof, you have to pay more to build it to begin with, because the sodot, the foundation, has to be stronger. For those who are into Tanakh, look out in front of you, the letters, numerals 2070, right now on the right side of the bus. In a moment, will be on the left side of the bus. Above that is a right, letter right antenna. This is the site of two very famous, what's the word I'm looking for in English? Two very famous ma'asim. That's in Hebrew. You can translate for me if you can help me. That word in Tanakh. One is episodes. Thank you. Number one is two very negative episodes. One is the infamous Pilegesh Bagiv'ah, and the second, Vayomer Lo Yehonatan Machar Chodesh. Remind me in a little while, I'll get back to it, but I need to point out some other factors over here. The right side of you is Piskat Ze'ev, on the right side of you over here, which is a Jewish neighborhood in Yerushalayim, and to the left side of you takes you into the area of Beit Hanina, which is mostly Arab populated. All residents of Yerushalayim, all officially pay taxes for Yerushalayim, all doing monetarily well. We're getting off the highway and turning into Piskat Ze'ev. Are there any Kohanim on the bus? No Kohen. Doesn't happen too often. Modeh. The reason I'm asking about Kohanim is not because we're going to a Beit Kvarot, but the area that we're traveling, that we'll be getting closer to in a few moments, is identified as Anatot. I'll point it out. And Anatot, of course, is the house of Yirmiyahu and the Ir HaKohanim. So in this case, the Kohanim, we won't be able to see it. There's the fast train again. And they're not very. It's not very fast. I should say light. It may be light, but not very fast. The reason why it's not very fast or not as fast as it's supposed to be, if we have time later on the way back, I'll explain. One of our neighbors is one of the people who runs the system for the city, and he told me a wild story. Which, looking back to your right, look way back to the right of you, you see the unfinished building on top of the mountain. Those on the right side of the bus can easily see it. Those on the left looking back will see it. That is the unfinished. Next to the white, red and white antennas. That's the unfinished palace of King Hussein, in the site of the moment I just told you a moment ago of the Pilegesh Bagiv'ah and the Yom Lo Yehonatan Machar Chodesh. Pilegesh Bagiv'ah, the very infamous, we don't want to get stuck on the train tracks, do we? Still in Piskat Ze'ev, a large neighborhood built. This is what's called East Yerushalayim. In other words, it's what we redeemed after the 6-Day War. The houses on the right side with the red roofs is another example. Many of them are Arab houses, and many of them are Jewish houses. Roof has no relevance much to what people think, to built. So it's just a matter of if you like that color. You'll see green roofs later on and gray ones. If you get a better price for the gray shingle, why not buy it? Unless you just happen to like red.
Thanks.
The same with the heating systems on top of the solar heating systems, which you see on top of the houses. On the left side, you'll see many of them with white, and some here and there you'll see a black one. Looking to the right now, this house coming up beneath you to the right side has black, round, and this one also black. So people say, ah, that's Arab and they have black ones. Why? And why do the Jews have white ones? It's a company. But it's a company. There is no, but I'll explain the reason behind it. They use the black. They use the black cistern as extra water in case there's a water stoppage. They have 500 extra liters of water, so they can open up and use it until the water comes back. The apartment houses of the Yehudim don't want to spend that extra money. It's a whole extra system, and don't want to do it. And hopefully there won't be too many water stoppages. Black has nothing to do with just only for Arab. I have a black one on top of my house. Black in this case, if you those in the field of engineering will be able to tell me better than myself. Does black keep away heat or bring in heat?
Brings in.
We're now leaving Yerushalayim, Smola. We've left Yerushalayim, just for a moment. The wall that you just saw is the official border of Yerushalayim. If you hold to say Tfilat HaDerech, then this is an opportunity to do so. I've already done so. I came to the show this morning. So if we have another someone to do so, Bakasha.
You're going to say the last.
Amen. I know that you like to help poor people, so maybe you help out the people on the right side of the town of Chizma. They are part of the poor Palestinian Arabs, and they need your help, along with the UNRWA, United Nations Relief Works Association, like this two-family house on the right side. They're really in dire straits, so maybe you can pass the hat and help them out a bit. On the left side of you, the neighborhood of Neve Yaakov, we are out in Yerushalayim. Like the Tfilat HaDerech helped you. Looking up on top of you to the left, you see a wall. Again, over the wall, which is officially part of Yerushalayim. The wall separates. It's an interesting situation. There's a court case about it. The neighbor on the other side is part of Yerushalayim, but we basically don't take care of it. And that is where the son of the Waxman family was murdered. Inside, there's a house that you can barely see from the left side. The town on the right side of you is called Chizma, and the name comes from one of the children of Shaul HaMelech, Beit Azimut. And we are in the land of Shevet Binyamin. We'll be in there for the next 2 hours because we're going to stop at the winery, which is also Binyamin. Those on the right side of the bus will have a plus above those on the left side for this moment. And I'll ask our bus driver to slow down, and I'll point out something, but he can't stop. You have to keep your eyes very quickly to the right. The driver is slowing down. He's nice about it. Not that most drivers wouldn't do that. Keep your eyes to the right now at this turn. There'll be a long, elongated structure, very low, of very big stones. Look to your right. Here we go. One very close and one further away. Here is the one right now in front of you, and one another 50 yards back to the right of it. You can see both of the big Chalisot. Okay, what is the name? What is the story behind it? And the Arabs called Kuber Beni Yisrael, or the grave of the children of Israel. And in the early 1800s, a French explorer identified that with Kever of Rachel Imenu. Now, you're going to look at me and say, what kind of Mishugas is telling me? We all know that Rachel Imenu is buried over in Beit Lechem. And that is correct. However, the question is whether the Kever Rachel that you and I know of in Beit Lechem, is that indeed the Beit Lechem of Kever Rachel? And is it Kever Rachel? There are difficulties. I'll give you the safe one. The end is that the millions of tears that have been poured out at that place have made it the Kever of Rachel. And therefore, whether it's a Kever of Rachel officially or actually is really, to an extent, irrelevant. Because that's what's been the Masoret. With all of that said, there are major problems. Number one, Rachel Imenu is buried Binyamin, or on the border of Binyamin. Beit Lechem of today is in Yehuda, the Kudah. And I know of no geography expert saying that is the area of Binyamin. Binyamin is the area of where we were picked up today, in the hotel. That's Binyamin in this way. We're in Binyamin now. Varishon. Vasheni, Rachel Imenu is buried to comfort us when we're leaving Yerushalayim. And Ma'asot, the Babel, is ahead of us, north, not south. So you don't go south, you go north. Number three, the identification of the Kever of Rachel that we have right now is 2,800 years old. 1,800 years old. From the period of a Christian wayfarer who identified it. That's the earliest identification we have there. In Kol HaKavod, to 1,800 years old, Rachel Imenu died about 4,000 years back. So we have a very big problem in terms of dating. Number four, Bar Ramah, Kol Bar Ramah, Nishma, look to your left. That is Ramah, Aram. But there is Ephrata, you have the Pasuk, and beneath those buildings that you saw, there's a gorge called the Vadi Kelt Gorge, and about 2 miles into it, there is a remains of a town called Aprat, or Ephrata. So there's some other sides to the coin. I'll go back to what I said at the moment. The goal of the Sefer is that the tears of Rachel Imenu people have been crying there. That's the proof. That's what we've made it the Kever. On the left side of you, this is where we get out of the cliffs, and we'll see in a moment. First, on the right side, rather. We are in a bypass of Ramallah. This is route number 60, Derech Avot, our forefathers' road, the main road that we use driving north and south today. Look to your right. This is the Sha'ar Binyamin Industrial, or Commercial Zone, rather. And there's some nice stores here. You can buy almost everything you want. And there is a blue roof. So let's forget about a red roof for a moment. Just now put up, it's going to be a ballroom for weddings and bar mitzvot on the right side of you. On the left side of you, on top of the mountain, up on top is a Tel Zion, a neighborhood outside of Yerushalayim that also serves the Haredi community, and next to it is Kochav Yaakov, which is more of a national religious or Mizrahi community, both adjacent to each other. And we'll be arriving in about 3 or 4 minutes at our first stop at the winery, and there'll be two different, since we're 2 buses, and as Sally said before, they can't take that many people, so there'll be 2 groups, one seeing one thing one time, the other group seeing the other thing, then we're going to see they're taking over from me, and you won't suffer me that much more. And right above you right now, that is the new community, the new houses that were put up for Migron, that was destroyed partly a few weeks ago. And on the right side of you, another town called Mukhmas, or Mikhmas, site of an amazing battle during the time of the period of Yehonatan. We turn left, getting off the road, route number 60. We'll hear from some of the people here, but I will just point out a bit on Migron. The court here forced people to leave the house when these houses wasn't ready. Let's say, for the sake of discussion, that you agree you have to get out, etc., etc., etc. The main thing which could have been waited, no one was forced into money. There was no international agreement as if we had to meet with the time of Arik Sharon. Nothing. We could have easily said, let's wait another 2 to 3 weeks until the other houses are ready. People had to go live in a school because their houses simply were not ready. Unfair. Shouldn't have been done. But that would have been done in the Bedouin community for since just last week. The court said you can't destroy the Bedouin houses because the other ones are not ready yet. For example. To the left of you on top of the mountain is the town of Yochav Yaakov. I mentioned before, Tel Zion. This is the new Migron. This right now, we're going through it right now. And you can see the families, what they've moved into. Some of them have very nice houses. Over here they have some Dover caravillas. Give it a very nice name, but something which is not very all that nice. Some of them gotten broken down caravans. You'll see it in a few moments on the right side. The company building here has done an amazing job. They built beshuganly, often, around the clock, getting something ready in a period of time that was known, that's to an extent unbelievably done. 4 months of work. All the infrastructure, all the developing, all done. Amazing.
It's pretty sad.
The negative factor is that Am Yisrael spent here some 30 million shekel on developing this. Look at this guy talking. Oh, yeah. This is not going to work. One of the reasons that this is not ready yet. It's got to be worked on. There's a road beneath you to the left that should have been used.
To Nachalat Binyamin Visitor Center. My name is Liora. Welcome to Bible's Land. Bible story happened here in this area of Binyamin. Okay? The road 60 is the patriarch road. Abraham was here. Yitzchak, Yaakov. Where was the Jacob dream? Bethel at the north. Where was the Mishkan, the tabernacle? Shiloh. The prophets were here. The judges were here. This is the Bible's land. And here, the name of the Bible sites are being preserved by the Arabs. Okay? If you look on your left, you see houses. Okay? This is Mukhmus. The Arabic village, Mukhmus. What is Mukhmus? Michmash. Okay, in Michmash was a battle between Jonathan and the Philistines, okay? If you see there, okay, there is the Jordan Valley, okay? The Dead Sea, the Jordan Valley, okay?
Whoa! Whoa! Pull over, please! Come on, man! Yo! Whoa! What the? Come on! Whoa! To Shiloh! Yeah! Are you getting to Shiloh? To the Mishkan? No, huh? Maybe to Bethel, please, to Bethel. Come on, man, please. Do a mitzvah. Come on. No. Okay, you don't have a camelback spare? Okay. Goodbye, yeah. Chag Sameach, yeah. Moadim לשמחה. Come on. What a mess, I tell you, what a mess. Thank you very much, thank you. Far too kind. I tell you what a mess. A year ago, 2 years ago, I used to stand here in the father's path waiting to, I was hitchhiking. People will pull me over every time. They stop next to me. Where do you need? Where do you go? Okay, I will do that gesture. But today, come on, who will stop a Jewish guy? You know, bulls, they pull me over, they stop. Camels, they stop as well. Goats, they stop. But now, nothing. Even one time, there was a horse who stopped to give me a ride. It was like, what was his model? I think, or Trojan, or...
A lawyer from Sagot, Yaakov Berg. He was a lawyer, and his father was a farmer, and his father planted a vineyard in Sagot. And Yaakov Berg started making wine, okay? and he started in 2003. The winery was established and it produced 4,000 bottles a year. It's not a lot, but the wine was so good, so delicious. People came from all the world to taste the wine of Psagot, and a family came from Miami to taste the wine, and they decided to invest their money to the young winery. In 2008, they built this building with the Council Regional of Binyamin, and now, how many bottles the winery produces, do you know? 150,000 bottles a year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Very good wine. 60% is exported to all the world, to Australia, to United States. Where are you from?
Yerushalayim.
In Israel, we only sell our wines to wine stores and restaurants, okay? We are a boutique winery, wine stores.
She's right.
I'm French, I'm sorry.
She's fine.
No, very much. So, okay, and the picking season, the harvest season began a month ago. We pick the grapes by hand. Why? Thanks to this method, the grapes are very carefully sorted, okay? And I open you the hall of the production of the wine. After the movie, I open it again, okay? So how we make wine? We bring the grapes here. The vineyards are in Psagot, in Har Bracha, in Shiloh. We use the grapes only from this area, okay? We bring the grapes here, we salt the grapes, and we crush the berries. When we crush the berries, we have the must. Do you know what is the must? It's juice, skin, and seeds, okay? The must is poured into the big stainless steel vat there, okay? And the must starts fermenting during 2 weeks, okay? What is the fermentation? The yeast converts the sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide, okay? And after 2 weeks of fermentation, we press the wine, we squeeze it, it liberates more juice. And with the free wine, what are we doing with the free wine? The pure wine, now in the bottles, here, in the barrels, okay? On the other side, here. Okay? This is the French oak barrel, okay? Why French oak? Because the French oak gives to the wine aromas and flavors, okay? Strawberries, cherries, and people, okay? Chocolate, coffee, okay? The French oak helps to the wine to age and to be very, very, very good, okay? And the wine age is here between 12 to 18 months in the French oak barrels, okay? Each 5 years we change the barrels, and here we have 10 kinds of wine, okay? Each type is the name of, each wine is the name of the type, okay? Merlot is the name of a type of grapes, okay? We have Merlot, we have Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Shiraz, Chardonnay, Viognier, Rosé, desert wine, and we have one blend. Do you know what is blend wine? Blend wine, it's many kinds of grapes, okay? Mixture of many kinds of grapes, okay? Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, mix. And the blend is called the Edom, like Mount Edom, okay? And our Edom, listen, since 2003, since the beginning of the winery, the Edom wins medals on the world every year. So why? Every year. For example, at the last year, we won in Paris, France, the land of the wine. We won the silver medal on our Edom and the gold medal on our Cabernet Sauvignon. So why? How? What's special here in this area of Binyamin? Here, we have the very, very good condition to grow the grapes, okay? On one side, the air is very cold and dry. On the other side, the sun shines brightly, okay? Level. The vineyards in Psagot are 900 meters above sea level. We are near the Judean desert. On the mountain, the soil is limestone, and the roots are penetrating inside in the limestone and take minerals and water. Okay? It's very, very, very good. Okay? And I believe that here in this area, we've got the blessing of God, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we return to our land, and our ancestor made one here, and it is very great. This is the bracha, nachon? Okay? So a little story before the movie. A few years ago, in the vineyard of Psagot, we find a cave. It is the most ancient cellar in history. And in the cave, what we found? Coin. This coin, it dates back from the period of the Great Revolt by the Jews against the Romans, before the destruction of the temple, 2,000 years ago, okay? On the coin shows amphora, which contains wine, an inscription for the freedom of Zion. What is Zion? Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, Lecherut Zion. Okay? It's very great to see. 2,000 years later, the Jewish people returned to his land and making wine at the same place.
Wow.
Okay? And now this coin became the symbol of the winery. We stick it on the bottles, and in the cave, in the ancient cave, there are barrels there of Cabernet Sauvignon and Edom, aged there. Very good story? Yes? Okay. Questions? The original coin is in a museum Rockefeller in Jerusalem.
The Edom land is the same every year or different every year?
In the same area. Yeah.
Oh, the blend.
Yeah.
When have you been?
Same formula every year?
אותו דבר.
No.
Whatever happens.
לא, האחוזים.
It is the story of man and land. Already 3,500 years ago, the mountains of Binyamin were full of Jewish life. On the roads of Binyamin walked the forefathers of the Jewish nation, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. After leaving Egypt, the Jewish people wandered 40 years in the desert and then settled in the land of their forefathers. The land was divided amongst the tribes of Israel. The tribes of Binyamin and Ephraim settled on these very mountains. Binyamin became the spiritual, political, and economic center of the Jewish people. Here in Shiloh, the tabernacle rested, and multitudes of Jews would make their pilgrimage to it. It was here that the majority of the judges judged the people. It was here that King Shaul grew up, and here that he was anointed as the first king of Israel. Many of the stories in the Bible happened here, in Binyamin. And from here, from the vineyards of Shiloh, came the tradition of the 15th of Av, the festival of love that symbolizes love and connection between all segments of the Jewish people. In the days of King David, Jerusalem, which sits on the Binyamin Mountains, became the eternal capital of the Jewish people. Those same mountains continued to play a central role in the life of the Jewish nation during the First Temple period, the Second Temple period, and until the end of the Maccabean era. Here in Binyamin, Jewish farmers worked their land. They picked olives, cultivated vineyards, and aged fine wine, Binyamin wine. And then, the destruction. 2,000 years of exile, 2,000 years of desolation. Binyamin began to be resettled more than 100 years ago as part of the Shivat Zion movement. Little by little, the early pioneers came to build and to be built in the land of Israel. In 1895, 13 families emigrated from Yemen and settled on land that was bought by the Association for the Inheritance of Israel, north of Jerusalem. In 1906, the Shartuk family, who emigrated from Ukraine, leased a farm in Kfar Ein Sinia, in the heart of Binyamin. And here, the lad Moshe Sheret grew up, who would one day become the Prime Minister of Israel. After them, more settlements were established north of Jerusalem, Atarot and Kfar Ivri, that is known as Neve Yaakov. Like the old city of Jerusalem, fell during the Arab riots and during the War of Independence in 1948. But not for long. In 1967, the Six-Day War heralded a new era for the Jewish people. In the very same place that the prophets prophesied the return of the Jewish people to their homeland, those prophecies are materializing. At first, it was not easy. However, in just a short time, more and more settlements have been sprouting up. In 1979, the Binyamin Regional Council was founded. At first, there were only a few members, few but determined. They were men of vision and action, faithful and devoted to the cause. They expanded the settlement enterprise with determination and bravery. Despite the hardships, more and more settlements are being established and the population of Binyamin is growing at a fast pace. Today, the Binyamin Regional Council is the largest regional council in Israel and stretches over a landmass of about 1 million dunam in the center of the country. In this area, there are more than 150,000 residents.
כל העולם הפנימי איכשהו מתמצא לאיזשהו רגע כזה שאתה בא ואומר זהו, אתה פשוט אוהב את המקום הזה.
אנחנו מחזיקים את הארץ שלנו.
כל דבר הולך בתוך איזה סיפור.
קהילה שהולכת וגדלה ואנשים מצטרפים להסביר.
משהו מאוד בראשיתי, משהו מאוד שייכותי, פנימי.
ידענו שכאן אנחנו גרים.
150,000 residents who chose to build their homes here and to pave their path, the path of Binyamin. It is a path of faith, of deep commitment, of values, and of action. A path committed to the rebirth of the Jewish nation in its homeland. A path that leads to the future. A path full of giving and volunteering. A path built through hard work and toil, house after house, vineyard after vineyard, towards a realization of the dreams of generations. It is a path that is strengthened through the loving absorption of thousands of new immigrants from all over the world. It is a path of sacrifice and determination for the state of Israel and her security. Which connects the past to the present for the sake of generations to come. Therefore, in Binyamin, education of values and morals is a mission. Tens of thousands are joining this path and bringing back to Binyamin the greatness and prosperity of the pre-exiled Jewish life. Also, Jewish farming has returned to Binyamin. On those very mountains and valleys that our forefathers planted grapevines and olive trees, today new saplings are being planted. Thousands of olive trees are growing in groves. Their fruits are brought to one of the largest and most advanced olive presses in Israel and are turned into the finest olive oil. Next to the grapevines that have taken root in the ground, more and more boutique wineries are opening their doors. They are making wine with the most advanced methods and are receiving awards worldwide for their wine. Binyamin wine. Binyamin, we have returned home to the promised land, to the land of our forefathers, on the same deserted land which waited 2,000 years for her children to return. New lives are being built. Binyamin, man and land.
So you should go with? Why not? Please look at this. Amazing, hey? Oh.
What's your name?
From the red wine, it's good with the milks and the cheese, okay? And the red wine good with the meat and the big lunch. So now, because that we start with the wine. This Chardonnay, it was a flower aroma. It was a little bit green apple and the tropic fruit. This is orange, and this is the light wine. And very, very clear. So you can look at the wine before you taste and look how, okay, I show you.
Mine's first.
Look this color, it's very, very clear. It without piece of fruit like the red wine. So very, very smart.
Important.
Thank you. Before that we taste, we have to open the wine. Okay, open. Okay? Around the wine at the glass. When we open, you can smell the wine and feel the aroma. Yes. Okay. After that, we opening, we smell. Okay? And then that we taste. This is for you.
Wow, I'm first.
Yeah.
Thanks. Wow.
Yes, you drink this. Say the broccoli nuts. They're good. Cabernet.
It's the king of the red wine winery. Okay. It's a bit. It was a little bit chocolate aroma, a little bit vanilla. It's more heavy from the wine that you're tasting, but it's a more light from the other red wine. Okay. So I put you, and you can see the color. It's more dark from the Chardonnay, but don't forget to open it before that you taste, okay?
For those who, somebody asked about the wine's not mubushal. The entire process is prepared by religious Jews. The entire process.
It's the Edom next, okay? As blend that as winery. It's blend from Cabernet Sauvignon that you taste now, and Cabernet Franc. Cabernet Franc is a little bit spacey, if you know Cabernet, and Merlot. Merlot, you know, of course, and Petit Verdot. Okay, so it's heavy wine, more from Cabernet, but it's more better and more expensive. It's the flag wine. Okay,
it's the blend.
It's the blend.
Yeah.
Edom, it's the blend. It was a silver medal from anonymous competition in Paris.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I think 2 or 3. Okay? אתה רוצה לעזור לי, מרדום? בסדר? נתחיל?
First again.
Yes, wonderful.
Very nice.
Thank you. Wow.
Sorry.
Because you taste it, let's see.
Yeah.
And say again, don't forget to open the wine.
Open
it's
it.
Very, very important.
Open the wine.
Oh, you want the marca?
Oh, this is
Well.
really beautiful.
2 minutes?
We can get drunk just from...
Oh, this is lovely.
Yeah. We can get drunk just smelling it.
Do you think this is better than killing? I like Kevin more.
So you come from South Africa? I had a relative in Cape Town.
Cape Town?
Who had a brother up in Woods.
אני אדבר איתך במשך...
accepted by three of the experts in the world today in terms of sites that there were episodes in the Tanakh. In this case, Rav Yoel Litzur, Dr. Professor Rav Yoel Bidun, and one of the best researchers that we have in the country is Erlich Jabal. This being the site of the very famous battle in the Nach. Tzvi Yehuda, my Rebbe, said you should not say Tanakh. In the Tanakh, and this one being the story of Yonatan and Shaul fighting the Plishtim. And the Navi tells us that the Plishtim, they had thousands upon thousands of tanks in those days, which were chariots in those days. And we had no arms because the Plishtim, the Philistines, didn't allow us to have any arms at all. And they had some 24,000 or so people, soldiers, and we had very, very few. And understandably so, I should maybe put that with a question mark, Shaul was afraid of the battle, and Ilu Yonatan says to his sword bearer, let's go fight those Plishtim. Hashem does not need numbers, the wording is mine. Look in the Navi, it's pretty much comparative. And if he wants us to win, we'll win even if we have one soldier. If he wants us to lose, 3 million soldiers won't be sufficient. And so his sword bearer says, I'll go with you. And then Yonatan says to his sword bearer, this will be the siman from Hashem whether we win the battle. We're going to climb up in the crevice. And the crevice was where I told you to look at that moment a few moments ago. And when we get to the top of the mountain where the guards are of the Plishtim, if they yell, there the Jews are running away, that's a siman that Hashem has given us the battle. However, if they don't say so, bad news for the Jews. So his sword bearer goes with him, and they get up to the top of that crevice, and as they're getting close, the Plishtim yell, there the Jews running away, come up. At that moment, Yonatan picks up a jawbone, and kills 18 of the guards, and then using my words, Hashem comes into action. And all night long there was a plague. And the big Plishtim get up in the morning, Ein Plishtim. Part of the battle was Migron, which is why Migron is called Migron. That was one of the shluchot that we were standing on for the battle. And so the site of the battle is where we assume in that area, definitely in this area. We'll get to the word definitely maybe a bit later on to explain why I use the word definitely. Continuing this road, this is the Okef, or the bypass of Ramallah. And it's a pleasure because it's much quicker if you had to go through the city of Ramallah, even if we haven't given it away temporarily, it would be much more time. So this road is a blessing in terms of being able to get around much quicker. With all that said, there's a lot of traffic on the road. You'll be seeing again in a few moments some poor Palestinian Arab houses on the left side of you. And if you want to pass your hat to help them out, I'll give them the money. I'll be your shaliach mitzvah in big quotation marks. Move on as we're on the way. Now the story we just said, nice Bible story. However, 1914, 1917, this is World War I is being fought in this area. Your history reminds you that 1914, still the Ottoman Empire in its waning years is still in control here. They, joined by the Germans, are fighting this area, and they're fought against by the British and a little bit of help of the French. The French mostly fought in the north, and the British and the French officially were fighting together. And the British plan a huge attack, knowing that if they defeat the Ottomans in this area, they probably win all of Eretz Israel. So they've ridden thousands upon thousands of soldiers. the poor Palestinian houses on the left side. And the Turks, knowing that this is a very major battle, do the same. A few nights before the battle, one of the British soldiers, a devout Christian, is reading their testament. Some people like to use the word New Testament. Why New Testament? It's their testament, nothing to do with me. It's their testament. So he's reading their testament, and there's a description of the battle of Yonatan that we just talked about. He was convinced that this was the site of the battle, where we just were, and more so that he has to fight it that way. So he goes to his commander, who happened to also be a devout Christian, and he convinces him, who then convinced the entire battle change. He goes to the commander, they change the entire battle route, bringing 400 climbers, sharpshooters, who climb up behind the Turks on the same side, kind of read that Yonatan fought, defeat the Turks, who go and retreat to Shiloh, the same place that battle happened then. Coming up to the intersection you are right now, on the right side, you look to the houses of the poor Palestinian Arabs, are the same as a whole bunch of times during the day. It's nice that they have nice houses, there'll be ours one day, but the fact that they claim to the world that they are so poor and look at the situation, these are one-family houses of the poor Palestinian Arabs on the right side. And they get UNRWA funds, United Nations Relief Force Association, for being refugees. So you can see how much of the refugees they are. Mi'idach, look on the left side. This is the town of Givat Asaf. This is not Arabs, this is Jews. And our government wants, the court is saying this has to be destroyed like Hebron because it doesn't have the legal permission to be here. Why doesn't it have the legal permission? Because Aaron Barak has not signed the last document. All the documents are ready, he refuses to sign it. If he doesn't sign it by legal interpretation in this area, he is the Ribon. In Hebrew, he is the Balabayit. He's in charge. So if he doesn't sign it legally, it's not okay. But even if all the permits are there, he has to put his signature on it. He refuses for political reasons to do so. And there you have a quote-unquote legal village. The round building on your left side, an army installation watching over the road. Look to the right of you now, again, houses of the poor Palestinians. Each one is a one-family house. And my grandmother, in better days when I was still alive, in my Shabbat in Yiddish would have said, Afmir gesucht. And Be'ezat Hashem will get to that. I have a nice house, but not that size. Looking on the left side, there'll be a wall as we come out of this cliff on the left side, about 200 yards in. Remains of a wall, this is gorge, which is identified as Bitin or Beit El. This is the ancient Beit El that you all know of the Chalom of Yaakov. When he's leaving Eretz Israel, he goes ahead. The pashtut of the pasuk is that this is where it happened. When he was sleeping here, here's where he met the Malachim. Not the Medrash, which says that's in Yerushalayim, but in this area. Now, this is Bitin, so it could be 100 yards to the left, 100 yards there. The wall that I pointed out is part of the ancient city of Bitin. So therefore, probably happened closer to that wall than where we are traveling now. The modern day town of Beit El, our town of Beit El, is further over to your left about a half a mile. We can't see it right now. On the way back, if it's still light, we'll be able to see it a bit from far. And this is still the Arab town of Bitin. The area on the right side, you'll see as we come out of the cliff, but let me interrupt before that for a moment. As we come around this bend, we'll be descending. We are still in Shevet Binyamin. We'll be leaving that in about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll point out more or less where the border is. The town on the left side is Yabrun, another Arab town. You'll see how poor they are. And yeah. And on the right side of you, there's a building, one building, standing by itself. That is a kollel, not of the Arabs. Kollel of Yehudim learning Dayanut. The building was bought by the villages of Afra, which is ahead of us now on the right side, and they sit and learn over here. Now there's a fence on the right side. The people of Afra are against the fence. This is done for quote-unquote legal reasons. I don't want, it's more that basically by this fence you're putting into the official boundaries of Afra a tremendous amount more of land into the village itself. We're coming up to a bend in the road. Around the bend, terrorists awaited Mayor Kahana's son and his wife, and they shot and sorry, it was a right behind us, the one behind us. I was telling the story of the Kollel, what happened to Shimon. It was back there, they reverted, coming back from Yerushalayim. They didn't want to go at night because they were, families said it's dangerous at night. They went in the morning they were shot down by terrorists, standing on top of the cliff just behind us, Hashem Yikom Damam. Ofra, on the right side of you, the first of the villages that we established in the Shomron, a general word for the Shomron being Yerushalayim North. It's an incorrect word because you have Binyamin, you have Ephraim, but the world, using the word Judea and Samaria. So Samaria included where we are now north of Yerushalayim. Ofra was the first village established, home today to about 750 families. Very powerful village, ideologically. Learning-wise, a lot of the schools are learning inside of all types that you would want. 50% of the population work in the area. Anyway, you're looking, it's a very, very powerful village. If you want to live there, there's a waiting list. Buildings are frozen because of a challenge to the ownership of the land, what you've heard about before. Looking to your left as we come around over here, you'll see look at the building on the right side beneath the road. This round building. This round building, it's now directly to the right of you beneath the road. And now look above, you see how much more. This is a Shomeira. Shomeira from the word Lishmor. What's the inyan of the Shomeira? In the moment, we're now leaving Shevet Binyamin and entering Shevet Ephraim. Who is the expert? In this case, the expert of just up until 7 years ago, Alav Shalom, Professor Yehuda Elitzur, who did most of the research that we know of today. And his claim is that the mountain range to your right, Ba'al Chatzor, Ha'atzor, is the border of Binyamin Ephraim. Based on many, many textual understandings along with geographics and names of villages, his son, Professor Yoel Elitzur, is the world expert in etymology, if I'm using the right word, of using the Arabic, tracing the names of the Arabs of using the villages right now to what was the name of beforehand. And in his opinion, he did his master's on it, there are 79% of the villages that are now Arab names are not Arab names in Bamako, but rather Jewish names, or in some cases Byzantine, like Bitin, Beitel. Ofra is Taiba Ofra of today. Salun is Shiloh, and he has a very, very long list of it, proving one after the other, and that helps us with the identification of the tribe. So we are now in Shevet Ephraim, the Shomeira that you saw before. Those buildings, you saw about 3 or 4 of them, you see a few more later on as we travel. We have found about the remains of some 700 of them in the area we're traveling now. They were built by our grandparents during the time of Yechezkel HaNavi, Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda, about 2,800 years back. And there are some of them that are still around in very good condition. Their word, the name of the binyan itself, gives what was used for, to protect the farmers living here. If you had a piece of land, if you had a farm, if you were going to, and you lived, let's say, 5 miles away from the farm, going back and forth every day, you would lose a tremendous amount of time. Also, your farm would be left there for 2-legged animals and 4-legged animals to destroy. So consequently, during the agriculture season, which is of course from Pesach ad Sukkot, which we are now in Chag HaSif, you would live in that Shomeira. Some of them are in very good shape today. The Mishnah brings up an interesting halachic question about a Shomeira. I'll get to it in a moment, believe neder. And I warn you in a positive way, I start saying things, I interrupt in the middle, I go on to something else. I do that for 2 reasons. And I'm doing it right now again. You'll see why. On the right side, after this, on the right side over here, this truck bus didn't allow us to see it. There is a kever in a cave in the mountain. On the other side, which we will not be able to see when we come back, there are about 20 or 25 of them. One of them has a menorah, the remains of a menorah, and the following letters: Bet, Lamed, Gimel, Hey, which is Bet, Lamed, Gimel, Hey. Which is why I asked anybody if he thought there's a Kohen on the bus. If there was a Kohen on the bus, he would know immediately that we're talking about Mishpachat HaBilga, which were one of the Mishmerot HaKohanim, and one of the daughters of the Bilga family, was going out with a Greek soldier and probably did worse than that, and the Chachamim closed one of the windows of the Bilga family in the Beit HaMikdash as their punishment. The family seems to be buried over here, not far from another family of the Mishmerot HaKohanim, the Gufna family. Welcome to what is called Nachal HaGanavim, the Valley of the Robbers. And it is so because up until 50 or 60 years ago, you could not travel this road during the day without a convoy, because there was a very famous Arab, very successful robber, whose name was Abu Jilda. And he robbed from the poor and rich alike, just like Robin Hood. But not like Robin Hood, he gave to what is, all the money that he robbed, he gave to what is called Keren Atzmi. And he became very wealthy doing so. The British claim that they killed him. When we asked to see the proof, they could not find it. The Arabs claimed that he was never killed, and he was such a successful robber, and not only that, Arichus Yomim, at the age of 123, he was still robbing. And of course, where is he buried? Holy place, we can't show it to you. So you can believe them if you like, you can believe the British if you like. We're now leaving Wadi Haramiyah, Arabic, Nachal HaGanavim, and coming up to the village on the left side, an Arab village today called Silwan, originally St. Gilles, Sinjil today, or originally St. Gilles. When it was built in the Byzantine era, it was for Christians. Today there are no Christians left, to the best of my knowledge. When we used to visit there years ago, there was still a church, or remains of a church, being used. Today, as I earlier mentioned, the Muslims do not allow any Christians to be around, so you won't find, to the best of my knowledge, any Christians left in the town. Its claim to fame, in quotation marks today, is the following: that your friend and my friend, who was born in Yerushalayim, he lived in Yerushalayim for a few years of his life. He then went to Sinjil on the left side of you. He left Sinjil, went over to the States, and knocked off Bobby Kennedy. Alohu Sirhan Sirhan. And the United States knows how to deal with their terrorists. He's still in prison, but we have to free all of ours because you know the deal. So, Sinjil on the left side of us. Haven't been here in many years. 20, 30. Yeah. Spain then also. Ira. The name is Ira. Ira. Yes, please. All of them today. Afra, Shiloh. There's a couple of reasons for that. We'll get to it. Look to the right now, and this is the poor Palestinian town of Turmus Aya. A fabulously wealthy town. Look at the houses. Each one is one family. Some of them have 20 or 25 rooms. Look up behind you to the right. You'll see some of the mansions. Most of the people live overseas. They travel back and forth with their Lincoln Continentals, Cadillacs, and I'm not exaggerating. Look at this house now direct of you. There's 18 rooms inside. One family house. They have 3 children only. Fabulously wealthy. And nice to live very, it's nice that they live nicely. Not nice to tell the world that they are poverty stricken, as you can see so much on the right side of it. All these one family houses. And we're coming up in another minute or so to the town of Shiloh. And we're just going to drive through one of the roads cutting across the town of Givat Harel, not even to the town itself, just to see a great sight. And rather than me talk about it, Tov Mar'eh Einayim Mishmi'at Aznayim. It's much nicer to see than to hear in this case. Again, Tu Messiah on the right side of you. Welcome to the outskirts of Shiloh. And as I said, we need to, because of the traffic laws, we need to go to the right and then to the left. The left side of you, this is a orchard of one of the families, the Juke family in Shiloh. His wife was murdered 21 years back during the Shamir time, being the prime minister, and then he planted in her memory a orchard of Rimonim, and today he's raised, instead moved, has a few more orchards, not just that. We're turning around in order to be able to go see something on the other side of the road. So we need to wait for the bus in front of us. Shiloh was the first capital of Eretz Yisrael, and was so for some 369 years. Yeshua ben Nun crosses over the Yarden, and he goes ahead, fights for Eretz Yisrael for 7 years, then sends out the Meraglim to go ahead and survey Eretz Yisrael, does it in 7 years. He didn't have the Google Maps to do so, and then he comes to Shiloh and gives the Shvatim, 8 of the Shvatim, 7.5 of the Shvatim are given their land here in Shiloh. Shiloh then becomes the capital. The Mishkan is here. It's the only place you can come to Kriv Korban, and of course this is where Eli HaKohen is Shafatit Yisrael Arba'im Shana, and then comes this place, Chana, davening, and we learn tremendous percentages of the halachot of tefillah from Chana Imenu and Hanaviyah, and then he goes ahead and Shmuel Hanavi comes out of that tefillah, Ben HaTovim Sheyesh Lanu. And we're crossing over, and in front of you, you will see vineyards. This is part of what we want to drive through. An amazing change in what has gone on in the countryside since we've come back 30 years ago. In the last 15 years, there's been a tremendous number of vineyards planted, olive orchards, vineyards, also rimonim, pomegranates, and more. What you'll be seeing now in mostly vineyards, and we produce some of the best grapes in the country. Fagot Winery buys some of them. Carmel Winery buys a good number of them. Tefferberg Winery, number 4 in the country. Barkan Winery, number 2 in the country. Many boutique wineries buy the grapes here. There are a little over 1,100 dunams of grapes, producing somewhere close to almost 1 million bakukim of wine from this area alone. So we can see the change, the amazing change since we've come back. You'll just drive 5 minutes to get this great taste of it. Taste of honey, but really taste of anavim. Look to your left now. This is Nahal Shiloh, the stream of Shiloh. This flows down into the Yarkon in Tel Aviv. If we were to dam it up, the Yarkon would have no water at all. The vineyards on the left side of you. This is the season of right now of the harvest. Much of these are already have been harvested. On the left side of you, where those blue placards are, the people are walking there. There are a good number that have not been harvested. There's one of the vineyard owners has put up a sign. It's a beautiful sign that says, all you Tayalim, you tourists that are walking through the vineyards, we request, we'd be happy, I think you go there, that if you taste from the grapes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been so nice to give us. So it's a nice idea of the owner of that vineyard. and we come around on the left side, those from the United States. On the right side of you, if anybody comes from New York area, there's a department store chain called Conway, and they invested in the vineyards on the right side of you, part owners of it. Here you'll see some grapes along this line on the right side over here. If we had time, we would have gotten off and you could have tasted it, but at that time we don't have it all. Left side is an organic grape, on an organic grape vineyard. Zeytin on the left side of you. Zeytin, everything is Yehudi. Everything is Yehudi. Zeytin on the right side of you. Look at the vineyards to the left. Look at the distance of it. This is 40 dunams or some 11 acres, 44 dunams the person has. Can you hold us to me? חדש, שטח הכן, הבמה היא חזקה. לא, שם זה יהיה בה יותר. אם אתה לא יכול, אז תמשיך. These are olive trees. Look at the olives on it. The olive season is after Sukkot, closing in closer to Hanukkah. Between Sukkot and Hanukkah, depending on the year, depending on the weather, and that's when they'll be picked. All of the work here is Yehudi. All of the owners are Yehudi. All of the laborers are Yehudi. Something which is not, doesn't happen. Much is done by machine. For instance, the harvest of the zeytin is done by a shaker, by a machine that comes here does it. The harvest of the grapes, even though the wineries insist or try to insist that be done by hand, is done more by machine. We don't have the labor to do it. The farmers here insisted using Jewish labor, or at least not Arab labor, and it's very hard to find people to work. So therefore they must do it by machine. Much of the harvesting is done at night, during the night, between 11-12 p.m. Up until 11 p.m. to 3 or 4 in the morning. The vineyard, the wineries insist on getting the grapes from the night because according to them, it's another 7 or 8% quality, better quality grape when they do that. So therefore everything has to be done at night itself. These are new olive saplings planted just a year ago by Yigal Ben Nun, a resident of the town of Givat Harel in front of you. In back of us now, you won't be able to see it. And Ilu, the village in front of you, on the left now is the town of Shiloh. Home to 350,000 Yofim. Once again, now those on the right side of the bus will be able to get a chance to see the vineyard. This also belongs to Yigal Ben Nun. Yigal Ben Nun and his wife, he is the son of Rav Elchanan Ben Nun, the Rav of the Yeshuv of Shiloh. He's a major builder in the area. He has building equipment, that's what he mostly does. This is more of a hobby, planting so that he can redeem the land. The caravans on the right on top of the mountain are of an army base for protection in the area. Now look at the vineyards to your left and to the right. 12 years ago, barren. So what Am Yisrael has done, the Kodesh Baruch Hu and Eretz Yisrael are just laughing in a positive way. You can move on. You came back to me, here you are. You want to plant? I agree. And the grapes, as I said before, some of the best grapes in the country now come from this area. There's more of a demand than we can supply at this point. This is a new kerem, a new vineyard on the right side of you, planted a year ago. As you know, the first 4 years you can't use any of the tree. Not only can you not use it, it must be destroyed. In other words, you must take it off the sapling and destroy it. Otherwise, it's a lav de oraita, which is a very problematic thing to be in. And so you're spending 3 years. The first year there's no pre. The second and third year there's pre. You must take it off the fourth year. This year, for example, one of the vineyards is having its Pidyon Nete Revai, and then you find the Beit HaMikdash, you would take it to the Beit HaMikdash. Today we can't do so, so it's you mafrish, and then you say a bracha, and then you can use it. Look at the amount of cars in front of you on the right side. They have parked and are walking, as you can see, the people walking Nachal Shiloh. It's about an hour and a half walk to the end of it, to this part of it, and at the end is a small ma'ayan spring with water, so people can go into it also. On top of a smaller pool. Now we leave the vineyards. There are many, many more vineyards on the other side of Shiloh. But in the small, short day that we have, we don't have the time to go see them. And then many more, I'm saying about 800 more dunams on the other side. It's a lot of wine, grapes in this area in such a short period of time. We're talking very few years as so many more have been added. On the right side of you is the town of Shiloh, and we continue north to Derech Avot. Of Eretz Yisrael is right now to the right of you. You see the people walking up to it, and there's a new exhibition that's being built on top of that down building. It's not ready yet. Probably take another half a year. All kinds of modern technology. Then walking to the area that we identified where the Mishkan itself was. And as we come around the bend, look again. On either side of the road, there are zaitim. About 2,500 or so olive trees planted by Yehudim, taken care of by Yehudim. Most of these olives here are sold to the olive oil factory, Meshek Achiyah, or Eretz Zeit Shemen Mufchar in Shiloh, producing more than 10% of what Israel's Jewish population uses. These are the olives on either side. And it's a constant battle with our neighbors who try to damage. Hodul Hashem, we're proceeding. More olives on the left of you right now, and in front of the bus and to the right of the bus is the town of Eli. Some 750 families spread over 9 different mountains. From the extreme right of us here, and I'll point out when we get to the end how far they go around. And we can thank Eli to the Israeli end of the Jewish National Fund. And be careful here, it's not the U.S. part of it, which does not allow, even though they have the right to do so, but they don't allow their money to be spent in planting trees in Yehuda v'Shomron. This tree's on the right side. The story is that we came here 3 years after Shiloh was established, and we wanted to plant to start a new village. And so the members of the police, the military control was here, and they went ahead and said we can't plant or we can't build a new village here because on top there were 5 trees. 5 trees according to the regulations. That means they were growing for a private person. The only person who could have that would be Arab. And therefore can't do anything about it. So we weren't stupid. 2 years later we went and we went ahead and we convinced the head of the Israeli end of the Jewish National Fund to plant on top of this mountain. He came out here, was very excited to give an order, and in 4 months, 75,000 baby saplings, pine trees, and other trees were planted. A year later, when you can see them, or was it 2 years later, we invited the heads of the building, the Ministry of Buildings to come out here once again. And they said, we can't build here. I said, what are you talking about? Look at these trees. And there were big signs, Jewish National Fund, and they said, Karen Kayemet Yisrael in this case. If that's the case, we can build here, and as a result of those trees, the village of Eli was established. Up on top of the mountain to the left of you. On the left of you, on top of the mountain, is the town of Ma'aleh Levona. named after the town of Livona that Yoshua bin Nun established. The remains of that town you'll see in a moment as we come around the curve, and you'll see the modern-day Arab town of Luban al-Shakia. And they are in name of the town that Yeshua bin Nun built. The remains of that ancient town are in the ground here someplace. This is not a rich town, but look at the housing. Ain't a better situation for any of the Arabs in any one of the Arab countries today, anywhere. If you want, let them go to Syria. If you want to go to Syria, fine. If you want to go to Egypt, that's even a better place. 60% of the people in Syria, in Egypt now have no work, poverty. Syria, you know what's going on. Lebanon, you know what's going on. Jordan is even better. Iraq and Iran is super. So these are not very rich people, but look at the houses, and they're doing very well. And that's nice, and enjoy a good life. And as we come around the bend, you'll see on top of the mountain, continuation of the town of Eli. Now this is a school, or two schools coming up on the left side of you, an Arab school both. There is, on the left side of you, this is the boys' school, coming up will be the girls' school, and on the right side of you is the town of Eli on top of the mountain, as we come around. It is the school right now. Fields on the right side are farmed by Arabs who today have given most of it to the Bedouins because they're not very much into agriculture anymore. It doesn't pay for them monetarily. They get money from the UNRWA funds, they get money from the European Common Market. Why should they work? And I'm serious. And therefore, they are, as you can see on the right side, you can see the Bedouins come and do the end of the work. In other words, the chita has been taken down, the wheat has been taken down. Now the goats come and go ahead and do the rest of the work. On the left side of you, this is the Arab town of Asawiya, a town that used to be poverty-stricken about 20 years ago. They developed very, very nicely. It's home to about 300 families, Arab families. Some 15 years ago, I'm hiking down with a group of kids from Shiloh. And we're coming down from the right of you. And we come down and I see an Arab farmer who looked to be quite old. And I walk over to him and I said, you look to be quite old, you're still farming? Over 82, and he's still farming. I say, 82? How long have you been here? 45 years. You've been here since the British have been around. He says, yes. I said, well, do you know English? Because my English is better than my Arabic. He said, no, but I know Yiddish. So I thought he was joshing me, so I opened up my mouth with my Subrechadi Yiddish. And I start saying a few words to him, and he opens up his mouth with a pearl of Yiddish that I haven't heard since my grandmother, Alveh Shalom, Niftarah, 1970. I asked him, where is he Yiddish from? He lived in Haifa. And his neighbors were Jews who came from Germany. And so they spoke Yiddish, he learned Yiddish, his family learned Yiddish, they learned Hebrew. They lived together, and he said, we had a very good life. And so I said, well, how did they get here? He said, the Nakba, which they call as the War of Independence of ours, our leaders told us to come here for 3 days so they can march the Jews into the sea. And then he said, what, marching into the sea? What, nothing. Since then, I've only been here. Looking to the right of you, right after we passed this cliff, the town of Richelim. Home to about 50 families, and this is all B'zchut Nishot Yisrael. The town on the right side of you is all because of the women of Am Yisrael. The story goes back to 21 years ago when a bus was going towards Tel Aviv from Yerushalayim, from Shiloh, 3 buses to a demonstration to try to stay away from the Madrid convention. The second bus was fired on where that town is now. The driver, Yitzchak Rofei, a father of 4, was murdered. A mother from Shiloh stood up to try to help him. Another bullet hit her, and she was murdered. That night, women of the area came and put a caravan over there and said, we're not leaving. The army came and tried to throw them out under orders of our government. 300 women chained themselves in the caravan and on top of the caravan, in pouring rain. The Minister of Defense was Moshe Aarons. He realized he has a difficult dilemma. He said, okay, for Shiva you can stay here. That Shiva became Shloshim. And that Shloshim became into a small seminar that gave talks about Eretz Israel. The result that we found almost 700 dunam of land registered to a Yehudi who bought them in the 1920s. And the village of Rechelim is the remains of that. It was frozen for about 5 years. Again, for the same reason Ehud Barak did not want to sign the papers. And as part of the deal for the Upana in Afra, he signed the papers. So the building in Rechelim, which you can see to the right of you, in a moment will continue. Home to the Tura winery, which has won 7 awards in the last 2 years all over the world. It's very, very fine winery, boutique, like the one in Sagot, a good number of wineries on the road. And we're coming up in a few moments to the main intersection in the area, and that is the Tapuach intersection. A right turn will take us down to the Jordan River Valley. A left turn, 30, almost 40 kilometers, will take us to Herzliya, the main coast road. And we don't do one of those two, but we continue straight, going towards Har Gerizim for a very short visit. The time is taking us, we spent a lot more time in the water than we wanted to. It was nice, more things. It's Parnasa for Yehudi, it's a big factor. But that also we must be back at Ariel at quarter of 2 for the ceremony. So that's our border limit that we must be. So you see the entrance into the main road intersection in front of us. To the left of you will be the town of Tapuach, home to about 200 families today. To the right goes down to the Jordan River Valley, and we go straight. Look at the amount of people hitchhiking. Dangerous country, right? No. Everybody hitchhikes here, any age, right? When we are girls at the age of 12 and 13, our girls were hitchhiking. So we're all boys. It's just nothing, all over Israel, not just here. But here, it's just not a question of doing it. Here, the rabbis have put out a small pamphlet, Hilchot Hitchhiking.
Wow.
I'm serious. The Hilchot are number 1 that you're required to take hitchhiking. It's a mitzvah to do so. Yeshab. Can't give it. Give it. Number 1. Now there are all kinds of questions. Who has the right of way? If 5 people are standing in line and then a car comes and then just then an old man comes and he has the right of way to bypass those people or not? If you're traveling with your wife in the car and you have quality time together and they're hitchhiking, can you give up the quality time or do you have to take the hitchhiking? Long shooting of hitchhiking. Great, modern day necessity. And now we are on Derech Emek HaMichmatat. And last night, who was tonight's Ushpizin? Last night was Moshe, am I right? So who's tonight? And who's tomorrow night? And next night? Oh, Yosef. Generally speaking, on the night of the Ushpizin of Yosef, there's a visit to the kever of Yosef HaTzadik. Last night there was a huge visit to him, almost 2,000 people, buses after buses after buses, going into the kever. Now we gave away the kever temporarily there. We'll see from far, from Har Gerizim, we will see the kever. That's the plan at least. Something happens, I don't know. And I'll tell you a bit more about it. This is the Lerech of Yosef HaTzadik. Yaakov Avinu tells his son Yosef, listen, I need you to go find your brothers. Of course, the wording is mine. They are shepherding near Shechem. How many miles does Yosef HaTzadik walk? From Hebron to Yerushalayim is 45 kilometers. Wow. From Yerushalayim to Shiloh is another 45 kilometers. That's 90, another 10 crossing over the city. We have now 100 kilometers. From Shiloh to Shechem is another 30 kilometers, and another then he didn't find his brothers, and the Shaliach, according to Rashi the Malach, says to him, Ochu dotaina, another 15 kilometers. So you made a cheshbon, you get to almost 125 kilometers of walking. Yosef HaTzadik goes to Mekayem the mitzvah of Kibbut Ara. Only to be taken by his brothers and thrown into the bar she'ein bo mayim ela akrabim ve'nechashim. And so therefore one can say to an extent that this is the diaspora road, because from here he goes out to Galut Mitzrayim, to come back only in a box, commanded by Moshe Rabbeinu that we take him and bury him in Shechem. And therefore we will be able to, Be'ezrat Hashem, be able to see from far the kever of Yosef HaTzadik. The village we're going through to is a very nice village. The Arab village, their name is Hawara. And the way it sounds is the way it is. They have all kinds of minhagim, shonim and mishunim, which we'll talk about it, not talk about it, we'll see later on. All of the villagers of Elon Moreh and Itamar and Yitzhar and Har Bracha, when they're going to Yerushalayim, must travel through the town that you and I will travel through right now. Look at the Matzav, look at the situation of this village. Again, you're talking poverty-stricken area. The news is all over. We have to give them hundreds of thousands, millions or hundreds of millions of dollars because they're poverty-stricken. There's no food. They're in poverty. They're dying for starvation according to all the news. And even our government gave them money because of more money because that's the situation. So either you and I have bad eyes, as you'll see in a moment, or the Hamedvin Yavin, as you look through this, we travel through the town. This is continuation of Derech Avot, which starts in Beersheba, ending all the way up in Afula. The northern part of it is no longer travelable by us because we gave it away to the PLO. Hawara. Now, I know you're going to be eating a nice meal in a while, but maybe if you like to get a great bargain on fresh meat, I can get you one. Look, first of all, fruits over here on the right side. Now keep your eyes to the right. Let's see if we can pull over, maybe give yourself a nice deal on a fresh steak. I'm not sure about the shechita, but here, look right now, look to the right. Here you are. Just now shech with him, look at the blood. I said to you fresh, I meant. Just now there was something, we can get a really bargain price. They serve it with flies on, it's really special taste. Without a doubt. There's another one coming up on the right side. The other rest of our note. Look to the right now. Another butcher shop. Here we go. This is how they sell it. Summer and winter. But you have to admit that it's fresh. So this is the poverty-stricken area, as you can see. Cars, of course, they're ancient, 40, 50 years old, like this one on the left side, the Mercedes. All this being very nice, but when you claim to the world that you're poverty-stricken, then it becomes a problem. In the Senior College of Health Sciences, look at the advertisement on the right side. That you won't see in Shechem. Shechem don't want to allow that, because that is too not sanua in the eyes of the elders of Shechem. Of course, you won't see that in Iraq or Iran or in Mitzrayim. Forget it. That kind of advertisement. On the way back, when we come through this, I'll tell you a wild story of the town going back to the 1940s. If you remind me, then a lot of building going on. If you want a car fixed here, even at 10 o'clock at night, the garages are open. You just have to pay a bit more money, but they'll stay open for that. So there are companies that want to have need to have the cars the next day. They'll do that. To the right of you is the town of where, according to tradition, the kever of the Zikenim Itamar and the Zikenim are buried. We won't be going there today. A left turn here takes you to, as the sign says, Yitzhar, Kedumim, Shavei Shomron, and from there on to Kfar Saba. We go straight. We have a matara. Our goal is to go up the mountain to Har Grizim in a few minutes. We'll be getting to the end of the section and then we'll climb up. It'll take us another 15 minutes to get there, and we have only 15 minutes on Makom. So I'm going to rush you there to get off and on, and then we'll take you back on the same road and get to Ariel, Bezat Hashem, on time. On top of the mountain, let me take a look. Those is the town of Bracha, but one of them is a Giv'ah. We'll be passing it from the other side. And then we'll talk about the Givot when we get close to Atap. An army base on the right side of you. This used to be Ba'ad Shalosh. It used to be a basic training camp for new soldiers. Today it's a reserve camp. Mostly the reserve units come to polish up a bit and be ready to fight if God forbid we need it. And also young soldiers who are doing some of the basic training and a lot of the hard work of protecting this area. The intersection right above you, we're making a left turn. This is one of the most important intersections. It used to be one of the most protected intersections in the country, because you're not allowed to go into Shechem. This goes directly into Shechem. We don't go to Shechem. If you want to go to Shechem, the odds are you won't come out alive. Very high odds for that. So therefore we make a left turn. Our government opened up there used to be a lot of soldiers protecting with the loud cars coming out because of the fear of terrorism coming out of it. How do we get around the terrorism? Leave the question to the site that you'll be looking at from the top of the mountain. I'll deal with it then. It'll be much more obvious. So we turn now towards Har Grizim. It's about a 10 or 8 minute ride to the top, and another 5 or 6 minute ride to the vista that we're trying to get to. Look to the right of you now. The long building that you see used to be the checkpost, where anybody coming out of Shechem had to be x-rayed to make sure that you wouldn't have with you any kind of bombs or such. And there were many attempts that were successful and many more attempts that were not successful of terrorists to come out of Shechem. They can walk out of Shechem. There's no fence around Shechem, but there's a difference in walking and driving, how far you can get. Again, look at the poverty-stricken Arabs in front of you as the bus bears to the left. This is typical standard of living out here. You will see some poverty. Baruch Hashem, there's poverty all over the place. It gives a chance for people to give charity. So we'll see some of the poverty at the top of the mountain, but most of what you've seen is not far, very, very far from that. Looking on your left in a few moments, you will see a bricha, a pool. And that is from a small ma'ayan, a small spring that is called you'll see the name they've given the villagers of here, and on top of that they built a mikveh. Now the men come to this mikveh day and night. In the middle of the night, 2 o'clock, you'll find people here coming to a mikveh. And you're going to say these all day, Meshuggah and Gansen? Not Meshuggah and Gansen, not half crazy, not no crazy. This is part of building Eretz Yisrael. So you'll see the spring flows into the ponds on the left side, therefore the cars on the left side of you, bringing the kids to sit on the trees and go into the water. Not very much water. That's what we have now. It's the end of the season. Ma'ayan Amasha. Those who have good eyes, Amasa. Look on the left side of you and see the line sign on the wall. And it says the mikveh of Yosef HaTzadik. Whether Yosef HaTzadik was in that mikveh, I don't know. But the sign is there. The trees on the right side of you, by the villages of the mountain that we're going up to now. And this is part of the redemption of the land. Zaytin is questionably kedai, monetarily speaking. The main difficulty with zaytin is the harvest of it. And Arabs do it by hand. It's a beautiful thing to see. They come out, the entire family. They put a huge tarp beneath the tree. The kids climb up and then with whips or with sticks, knock the branches and the olives fall into the tarp, and then they pull them all together. We can't afford that. We don't have the time for that. And so we do it by machine, or some of the places. Now the machine is a shaker. It's a huge machine that puts a plastic tarp beneath the tree. It grabs onto the tree with like a big, huge plier and shakes it. In 15 seconds, it's done. The machine costs a lot of money. To run it costs a lot of money. It doesn't do well on a side of a mountain because it's too problematic. It doesn't work. It takes more time. And they charge for it. So it's questionably kedai to raise in this area olives, even though they are very, very good. This is one of the mountaintops. Yaakov Tena is the memorial on the left side. And when we come down this mountain, you'll get a good picture of it, and I'll then explain more about that then on the way up. It's just more convenient. Looking to the right, that is the village we just came up from, looking straight across the mountain in the distance. You can see a little bit right now. It's cleared up somewhat. Generally speaking, there's a much better view, but in the last 3 days and during the summer in general, because of the heat, we have less of a view. The town of Itamar, the modern day town of Itamar, is 90 degrees to the right of you. On top of the mountain, you can see houses, and then on top of it, way out as far as your eyes will see, about 70 families that live in their own farmland during their own farming season. Tamar is the town that has suffered more than any other towns of a successful, in a very negative way, of course, attacks by terrorists. Over 20 residents have been murdered inside Itamar. Coming up in front of us, the town of Bracha, Har Bracha. Therefore, they call the town Bracha. And it's been in the news a few times. The sefer that was written that caused the world to yell and scream that Jews have right to kill Arabs or your enemies was written over here by the Rav of the village. Oh, that guy's not bad shape at all. Oh. I couldn't do that. Not today, anyhow. The olive trees on the right side of you. There was a fire here, as you can see the results of that. Some of the fire is because of the heat. Some is purposely done so that it's part of the terrorism against us. The town of Bracha, home to about 275 families on the left side of it. You only see a small part of it. It's further in, and they have a lot of more houses. They just now built these line of houses, finished it. The villages itself built it, and they're renting it out to families. One of the big problems is that private housing, as apartments all over the country, are very, very expensive. We're trying to find a way to cut down the cost of young families who are just getting married and those who don't have money to live. And one of the ways could be in apartments. We're not going into Har Bracha, we turn right to the accepted site of Har Grizim. Har Grizim will be going through the Shomronim neighborhood. The Shomronim are not Yehudim. Chazal, at one point in time, they were accepted to be Yehudim. Many years ago, over 1,000, almost the time of the Beit HaMikdash Hashani, they were not accepted anymore because they were found to be serving Avodah Zarah. They claim themselves to be the original Jews. They say that they are Yisraelim. They have a written lineage from their Kohen Gadol today, all the way down to Aharon HaKohen, of course, in their belief. They are very strict about mitzvot. There's no Eish on Shabbat, so therefore obviously they can't be Jewish because they don't have any cholent on Shabbat. But they do have no lighting at all on Shabbat. They have their Torah, which they somewhat a little bit different than ours. Not very much, but a little bit. They have a Korban Pesach. They have Sukkot, but their calendar is a little bit different than us. Their Sukkot is another 3.5 weeks, 3 weeks and 2 days. It's either 1 day different or 1 month different. Depends on the year, according to their calendar. These are the Shomronim. There are 600 and about 70 alive in the world today. All of them in Eretz Yisrael. Half over here, half living in Cholon. They used to live in Shechem. The Arabs didn't like them too much. When we came back, they thanked us profusely for saving whoever's left. If anybody's interested, they're looking for a woman to convert because they're in bad shape. They don't have enough women.
Samaritans, really.
Change plans. There's no way to go in with the bus. All the places totally closed down, and so therefore we're going to have to make a change. And I'll show you a different site. Sorry about this. The walk is about an hour to get from here to where you want to see, so that's not going to be.
We're curious about this.
Not a bad idea.
So big. Yeah. It's amazing, man.
The houses that you see now on either side belong to the Shomronim. Baruch Hashem, there are a lot of tourists, and the bus, this is not made for 50 buses that are in the area right now. And we couldn't get to where we needed to get to. The buses in front of us told us that. So we need to make a small change, which we're doing right now. Bezat Hashem will come at a different time to see from far Kever Yosef, from better still to see from close Kever Yosef. For those who'd like to, you'll get off with me for a vista from here. It'll be a very short stop because we need to get back to Ariel for the ceremony, as we said. But the vista outside the bus is much better than inside the bus. So join from here, get off as quickly as you can, and I will. And the bus company just signed, you can't get in. At that point, to wait or walk a half an hour we could not do. And to wait 15 minutes just to turn around was not worthwhile. So we opted on the second option, not as good. Zemayesh, as we say in Hebrew. This is what we have. I'll explain the view. אבי,
יא.
אתה רוצה להסביר לו לבדך? מה שאתה רוצה. No, it's פה. Number 2 bus, go there, please, with Avi. And then we'll talk what we're looking at. This is basically north. And this is basically south towards Yerushalayim. Eastward, Aver Yarden, and Kmuvan, westward behind you. We are standing on the Shipulim, which is basically the foothills of Har Grizim, the accepted Har Grizim. There's question marks. Leave it, not that important for us. That's accepted to this day as Har Grizim. You see many cars up there. That's one of the reasons we can get there no way. The top of the green is a new national park of Har Grizim. Where the flags are, Yitzchak Magen and archaeologists found remains of a Beit Mikdash. In his opinion, a copy of the Beit Mikdash that was in Yerushalayim. Lama, I'll get to in a few moments. But that is the kivun of Har Grizim. You at this spot cannot see Har Eval. That's what we wanted to do. We can't see from here. Har Eval is on the other side of that. One cannot see it. If any of your teachers told you that Har Eval is a cursed mountain, he wasn't or she was not taught correctly. Not that they just were not taught correctly. Har Eval was never cursed. The bracha and klala were given between Har Eval and Har Grizim. The Kohanim Leviim turned first towards the Har Bracha, and then turns Har Eval, and gave us the bracha, and everyone said Amen. And then they turned towards Har Eval, and the klala that we read 2 weeks ago in Parshat HaShavua was said, V'chol Am Yisrael Amar Amen. The mountain was never cursed. And those teachers who said, how do we know it was cursed because there's no greenery? I wanted to show you that. We can't. There's more greenery on Har Eval than there is on Har Grizim. Well, fact of life today. Number 2, an interesting point that I have not been able to find an answer to. Rashi says that Har Grizim is higher than Har Eval. Lo nachon. Factually not nachon hayom. Komar, if we accept this to be Har Grizim and the other one to be Har Eval, and that's accepted by almost everyone.